Something we get asked a lot at BEACN is whether or not the BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR can work together. And the answer is, kind of. In today's video, we're going to cover the differences between the two devices, the similarities, as well as the two functionalities that you can bring from GoXLR into your Mix Create, being the sampler and the voice effects. We're also going to cover a two-person podcasting setup. Let's jump in. Before we get started talking about how we can make BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR work together, I think it's very important that we point out how they're both similar, but also some differences between those two. So, with that in mind, let's get started. The most noticeable similarity between BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR is, of course, the routing table. The routing table that is implemented in both GoXLR and BEACN Mix Create are instrumental in how you decide what you send to your audience and what you listen to in your headphones. While the routing table is a way in which BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR are similar, the biggest similarity is actually that they both enumerate devices in Windows so that you can assign applications to them. This is fundamental in how audio is routed into OBS so that you can have a single channel and be able to manage your audio sources. Now that we've talked about the biggest similarities between GoXLR and BEACN Mix Create, let's talk about some of the biggest differences. We'll start with BEACN Mix Create. BEACN Mix Create differs from GoXLR in that it's a single USB port. You plug it into your computer, and it's hardware agnostic in the sense that any microphones that you plug in or headphones that you plug in can be used with the BEACN app and sent out to your audience mix, similar to how GoXLR takes all of its inputs and sends it out to your audience mix as well. One of the key differences between BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR is the ability to do submixing. What this means is that you can independently adjust your volume separate from your audience's so that you have more control over how loud you want to hear things as opposed to how your audience needs to hear it. You do this by using the submix button on the BEACN Mix Create or by going to an app and adjusting the volume slider accordingly. Another key difference between BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR is, of course, the additional functionality that comes along with GoXLR being the sampler and the voice effects. BEACN Mix Create was designed to be an audio controller to give you more powerful control over how you hear things and your audience hears things, as well as giving you additional functionality like VOD track and multiple listening devices. GoXLR, on the other hand, does give you the option to have the sampler so that you can load samples in, as well as use voice effects on whatever microphone is plugged into the GoXLR. Finally, the biggest difference between BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR is, of course, the I/O. GoXLR comes with an XLR port, an optical, a line in, a line out, a headphone, and a microphone port so that you can plug in a myriad of different devices, both broadcast dynamic and condenser microphones, and because of the high-end Midas preamp in it, it should be able to power it relatively easily. That being said, we've designed BEACN Mix Create to work with BEACN Microphone, where we've included an onboard DSP and a myriad of different options for you to EQ the microphone to make it sound best for you, and it saves all of the features directly onto the microphone so that you can carry it and plug it into another machine, and all of your EQ settings are saved. Now that we've covered the differences and similarities between BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR, let's hop into the app and see how we can make these devices work together. Now that we're in the BEACN app, let's bring in our microphone from GoXLR. To do this, we're going to want to go into the BEACN app and hit the plus symbol, and then we're going to add a hardware knob. Once you have your hardware knob added, you'll see a list of microphones that show up, and this is basically all the recording devices that show up in Windows, and you're going to want to tick Chat Mic TC Helicon GoXLR. You'll notice that the metering starts happening in the app now, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute this microphone and mute my BEACN mic, and you'll hear me talking through the SM7B. Alright, here we go. This is me talking through the SM7B now, going through BEACN Mix Create. Now that we have the microphone from GoXLR coming into the BEACN app, some of those features become available to us. One of those is the voice effects. So right now I'm going to go to the GoXLR and I'm going to hit the effects button, and you can see that I'm using the megaphone effect. Now that we have the microphone from GoXLR coming into the BEACN app via the hardware knob, we can use the same channel to actually send over our samples from the GoXLR. So if I go over to the GoXLR app and we go to the routing table, you'll notice that I have samples ticked under Chat Mic. So if I go to the sampler, I have a Stream Beats song loaded up here, and if I hit this button really quick, you'll notice that the sound is coming through the hardware knob, and I can turn it up and down. I'm just going to pause this. So one thing to note about this is that you can still use this feature without needing an XLR mic plugged in. So if I go back to the routing table, you'll notice that this is still ticked, and regardless if the XLR mic is plugged in, as long as it's ticked under the hardware knob here, you'll be able to play samples through it. One of my favorite setups with BEACN Mix Create and GoXLR together is being able to set up a little two-person podcasting setup. Here's what I mean by that. So we've already brought in the microphone from GoXLR into the BEACN app by adding it to a hardware knob. In BEACN Mix Create, we've added a cool little feature to be able to copy your BEACN microphone, or whatever microphone you have selected under the mic knob, and copy it to another source within Windows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to voice chat mic down here in the routing table, and I'm going to copy it to system. And the system that we're copying it to is going to be the system output for TC Helicon GoXLR. So by doing this, what we've now done is we have it so that the person on the GoXLR who has their headset plugged into GoXLR as well as their microphone can now hear us, and we can hear them via the hardware knob. So we've effectively done a two-person podcasting setup with both devices. And there you have it. There's some unique ways that you can use BEACN, Mix Create, and GoXLR to bring their functionality together. If you're looking to replace your GoXLR with an XLR interface, we can't help you yet. But if you're looking for a device to power your stream audio and to have better control, the Mix Create might be right for you. How do you think we did? Did we miss any cool, unique setups? Let us know in the comments below.